Sarah Martinez had always been different from other girls in her small Texas town. While her friends painted their nails and talked about boys, she spent weekends hunting with her grandfather, learning to shoot with deadly accuracy. Her steady hands and sharp eyes made her a natural marksman, but nobody could have predicted where those skills would eventually take her. At 18, Sarah shocked her family by enlisting in the Army instead of going to college. Her parents had dreams of her becoming a doctor or lawyer, but Sarah felt called to serve her country. During basic training, her drill sergeants quickly noticed two things about the quiet girl from Texas. She could outshoot almost anyone on the range, and she had an unusual calmness under pressure that made her perfect for medical work. The Army placed Sarah in the medical corps, training her as a combat medic. She excelled in every aspect of the program, from battlefield medicine to tactical operations. Her instructors were impressed by how she could remain focused while treating wounded soldiers during simulated combat scenarios. Sarah had found her calling, or so she thought. Her first deployment took her to Afghanistan, where she was assigned to an infantry unit operating in one of the most dangerous regions of the country. The mountains were filled with enemy fighters, who knew the terrain better than anyone. For Sarah and her unit, every patrol could be their last. The reality of war hit Sarah hard during her first month in country. She had trained for battlefield medicine, but nothing could prepare her for the actual sight of her friends bleeding out in the dirt, while enemy bullets flew overhead. The first soldier she treated was barely 19 years old, shot through the chest during an ambush. As she worked frantically to stop the bleeding, bullets cracked overhead and explosions shook the ground around them. Sarah's hands never shook as she inserted the chest tube that saved the young soldier's life. Her calm demeanor under fire became legendary among the troops. They started calling her Ice because nothing seemed to rattle her. But Sarah was changing inside. Every life she saved, every friend she lost was making her harder and more focused on one goal: stopping the enemy before they could hurt her soldiers. During her third month in Afghanistan, Sarah's unit was assigned to a remote outpost in the mountains. The base was constantly under attack from enemy snipers hidden in the rocky peaks surrounding them. American soldiers couldn't move outside the perimeter without risking their lives. The situation was becoming desperate, and morale was dropping fast. One morning, Sarah was treating a soldier who had been shot by an enemy sniper while on guard duty. As she worked to stabilize him, she could see the muzzle flash from the sniper's position about 800 yards away. The enemy shooter was well concealed among the rocks, picking off American soldiers one by one. "Someone needs to take that guy out," muttered Sergeant Johnson, the unit's senior NCO. "He's been hitting our guys for 3 days straight." Sarah looked up from her patient and stared at the distant rocks where the sniper was hiding. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind from all those hunting trips. "Sarah, the key to long-range shooting isn't just having steady hands. You need to understand wind, distance, and most importantly, you need to think like your target." "I can do it," Sarah said quietly. Sergeant Johnson looked at her like she was crazy. "You're a medic, Ice. Your job is to save lives, not take them. And I can save more lives by stopping that sniper than by patching up his victims," Sarah replied with a determination that surprised everyone, including herself. The unit's designated marksman had been wounded the previous week, leaving them without their primary long-range shooter. Their situation was getting worse by the hour, and they were running out of options. Against his better judgment, Sergeant Johnson decided to let Sarah try. Sarah had never shot at another human being before, but she had been hunting since she was 10 years old. She understood ballistics, wind drift, and bullet drop better than most trained snipers. More importantly, she had something that couldn't be taught: the ability to remain calm under extreme pressure. She borrowed the unit's precision rifle and carefully studied the enemy position through the scope. The distance was challenging, but not impossible. Sarah calculated wind speed, elevation changes, and atmospheric conditions just like her grandfather had taught her during those long hunting trips in the Texas hills. Taking a deep breath, Sarah settled into a comfortable shooting position behind a concrete barrier. She could feel her heartbeat slowing as she entered the focused state that had made her such an effective medic. Time seemed to stop as she aligned the crosshairs on the barely visible figure among the distant rocks. The shot rang out across the valley, echoing off the surrounding mountains. Through her scope, Sarah watched the enemy sniper slump forward, his rifle clattering down the rocky slope. The threat that had been terrorizing her unit for days was eliminated with a single, perfectly placed shot. Word of Sarah's incredible shot spread quickly through the base. Within hours, officers from higher command were asking questions about the combat medic, who had made an impossible shot under combat conditions. Sarah tried to downplay what she had done, insisting she was just doing her job to protect her fellow soldiers. But the shot that silenced the enemy sniper had awakened something in Sarah. She realized that her unique combination of medical training, steady nerves, and exceptional marksmanship skills could be used in ways she had never imagined. The Army had trained her to save lives, but now she understood that sometimes taking one life could save many others. As news of her shot reached higher levels of command, Sarah began receiving visits from officers she had never seen before. They asked detailed questions about her shooting background, her combat experience, and her mental state under pressure. Sarah answered honestly, not understanding why everyone was suddenly so interested in a simple combat medic from Texas. What Sarah didn't know was that her incredible shot had caught the attention of some very special people. The Army's elite sniper program was always looking for soldiers with exceptional skills and the right psychological profile. Sarah Martinez, the quiet combat medic who had made an impossible shot to save her unit, was about to be offered an opportunity that would change her life forever. The war in Afghanistan was far from over, and the Army needed soldiers who could operate in the shadows, eliminating high-value targets with precision and stealth. Sarah's combination of medical knowledge, combat experience, and proven marksmanship skills made her an ideal candidate for training that only a select few would ever receive. 3 weeks after the sniper incident, Sarah received orders that confused everyone in her unit. She was being temporarily reassigned to a classified training program at an undisclosed location. Even Sergeant Johnson didn't know what was happening, which was unusual since he seemed to know everything that went on in the Army. I've been in the service for 15 years, and I've never seen orders like these," he told her as she packed her gear. "Whatever they want with you, it must be something big." Sarah flew to a remote training facility in the Nevada desert, where she met Colonel Rebecca Hayes, one of the few female officers to have completed the Army's most elite sniper program. Colonel Hayes was a legend in special operations circles, with more confirmed kills than most people had training rounds. "Specialist Martinez, your shot in Afghanistan has created quite a stir among some very important people," Colonel Hayes said during their first meeting. "We've been watching combat footage and studying your performance under fire. Your combination of skills is extremely rare." The colonel explained that Sarah was being offered a chance to attend the Army's Advanced Sniper School, a program so selective that fewer than 10% of applicants were accepted. The training would be brutal, lasting 6 months and covering everything from advanced marksmanship to psychological warfare. "I need to be honest with you," Colonel Hayes continued. "This isn't just about shooting. We're training you to eliminate high-value targets in complex urban environments. You'll be operating alone or with small teams, often behind enemy lines. The mental pressure is unlike anything you've experienced as a medic." Sarah thought about her fallen comrades and the soldiers she couldn't save despite her medical training. The idea of preventing casualties by eliminating threats before they could act appealed to her in a way that surprised her. "What would happen to my medical training?" Sarah asked. "Your medical background is actually one of the reasons we want you," the colonel replied. "Understanding human anatomy makes you a more effective sniper. Knowing exactly where to place a shot for instant incapacitation is crucial in hostage rescue situations." Sarah agreed to enter the program, not fully understanding how dramatically it would change her life. The training began immediately with psychological evaluation, designed to determine if she had the mental fortitude to kill on command. Many candidates washed out during this phase, unable to handle the moral complexity of targeted elimination. The psychological training was harder than Sarah expected. She spent hours with military psychiatrists who probed her motivations and tested her reactions to various scenarios. They showed her photos of potential targets and asked her to make split-second decisions about whether to take the shot. The hardest part about being a sniper isn't the physical training. explained her instructor, Master Sergeant Williams. It's the mental game. You need to be able to live with your decisions, because once you pull that trigger, there's no taking it back. Physical training pushed Sarah beyond anything she had experienced in basic training or combat medic school. She learned to move silently through any terrain, to remain motionless for hours while observing targets, and to estimate distances and wind conditions with deadly accuracy. The marksmanship training was unlike anything Sarah had ever experienced. She learned to engage targets at distances up to 1,500 meters using various weapon systems. Her instructors taught her about different ammunition types, how atmospheric conditions affected bullet trajectory, and how to make killing shots on moving targets. Sarah's medical background proved invaluable during anatomy classes. While other students struggled to understand the effects of different shot placements, Sarah already knew exactly how bullets would affect various organs and body systems. This knowledge made her shots more precise and more lethal. 3 months. Into training, Sarah faced her biggest challenge yet, the final field exercise. Students were given a real-world scenario and tasked with planning and executing a simulated assassination mission. The target was the instructor playing a terrorist leader, and failure meant immediate dismissal from the program. Sarah's mission took her to a mock urban environment where she had to infiltrate a building complex, identify her target among several decoys, and make the shot without being detected by roving security patrols. She had studied the target's habits for days, learning his routines and identifying the perfect opportunity for elimination. The night of the exercise, Sarah moved through the urban environment like a ghost. Her combat medic training had taught her to work under pressure, while months of sniper school had honed her ability to remain invisible. She reached her predetermined position and settled in to wait for the target to appear. Hours passed before Sarah's target finally emerged onto a balcony overlooking the courtyard. He was surrounded by bodyguards and stayed in the open for only seconds at a time. Sarah had one chance to make the shot before security protocols would move him to a safer location. Through her scope, Sarah watched the target's movements and calculated the exact moment when she would have a clear shot. Her breathing slowed as she entered the focused state that had become second nature during her months of training. When the moment came, Sarah's shot was perfect. The rubber bullet struck the instructor exactly where a real bullet would have been instantly fatal. The exercise controllers confirmed that she had remained undetected throughout the entire operation. Sarah graduated from advanced sniper school at the top of her class, earning recognition as one of the most naturally gifted snipers the program had ever produced. Her combination of medical knowledge, combat experience, and exceptional marksmanship skills made her a weapon unlike any other in the Army's arsenal. Colonel Hayes personally congratulated Sarah during the graduation ceremony. "You've exceeded every expectation we had," she said. "Your skills are going to save American lives and eliminate threats that conventional forces can't touch." Sarah's new assignment came with a significant promotion and a security clearance that gave her access to some of the military's most classified operations. She was being attached to a joint special operations unit that worked directly with Navy SEALs, Delta Force, and other elite units. The quiet combat medic from Texas had been transformed into something entirely different. Sarah Martinez was now one of the Army's most deadly snipers, capable of eliminating targets at extreme distances with surgical precision. Her medical training allowed her to place shots with an accuracy that amazed even experienced special operations personnel. But Sarah's greatest test was still ahead of her. The skills she had learned in the Nevada desert would soon be put to the ultimate test in real combat situations, where mistakes meant death for herself and her teammates. Her new unit was preparing for a classified mission that would take them deep into enemy territory. The operation would require precision shooting under the most challenging conditions imaginable, and Sarah's unique combination of skills made her an essential part of the team. As she prepared for deployment, Sarah reflected on how far she had come from the young woman who had enlisted to serve her country as a medic. She was still saving lives, but now she did it by taking them with calculated precision that few people could match. Sarah's first assignment with her new Special Operations Unit came 3 months after graduating from sniper school. She was attached to SEAL Team 6 for a high-priority mission in Syria. where intelligence had located a terrorist leader responsible for coordinating attacks against American forces throughout the Middle East. The briefing took place in a secure facility where Sarah met the SEAL team she would be supporting. The team leader, Lieutenant Commander Jake Hawkeye Morrison, had initially been skeptical about working with an Army sniper, especially one who had started as a combat medic. "No offense, Martinez, but this isn't Afghanistan," Morrison said during their first meeting. "We're talking about urban warfare in a hostile city where every civilian could be an enemy combatant. One missed shot could compromise the entire mission and get my men killed." Sarah understood his concerns. Navy SEALs were legendary for their elite training and tight unit cohesion. They didn't trust easily, especially when it came to outsiders who hadn't proven themselves in SEAL operations. "Commander, I didn't ask for this assignment," Sarah replied calmly. "But I'm here now and I'll do whatever it takes to complete the mission successfully." The target was Khalil Hassan, a master bomb maker who had been evading capture for 3 years. Intelligence indicated he was hiding in a fortified compound in the heart of Aleppo, surrounded by loyalists and protected by sophisticated security systems. The mission plan was complex. The SEALs would infiltrate the compound during a coordinated assault, while Sarah would be positioned on a rooftop 800 meters away to provide overwatch and eliminate specific targets that could threaten the team. Sarah spent days studying satellite imagery and intelligence reports about the target area. She memorized every building, every possible escape route, and every potential threat that could endanger the SEAL team. Her medical background helped her understand the tactical significance of different wounds and how to prioritize targets based on their immediate threat level. The night before the mission, Morrison approached Sarah with what seemed like a test. "Martinez, you see that water tower about 600 meters out? There's a small metal plate hanging from a chain that's moving in the wind. Think you can hit it?" Without a word, Sarah set up her rifle and studied the target through her scope. The metal plate was roughly the size of a dinner plate, swaying unpredictably in the desert wind. It was the kind of shot that would challenge even experienced snipers. Sarah calculated wind speed and direction, accounting for the movement pattern of the swaying target. She controlled her breathing and waited for the perfect moment when the wind would briefly steady. Her shot rang out across the compound, and the metal plate disappeared in a shower of sparks. The SEALs exchanged glances of grudging respect. Morrison nodded approvingly. "Okay, Martinez, maybe you'll do just fine." The actual mission began at 200 hours under a moonless sky. Sarah had been in position for 3 hours, concealed on a rooftop that gave her clear sight lines to the target compound. Through her night vision scope, she could see the SEAL team moving through the shadows like ghosts. Everything went according to plan until the team reached the compound's outer perimeter. Intelligence had missed a patrol of guards who appeared, unexpectedly, threatening to expose the entire operation. Morrison's voice crackled through Sarah's earpiece. "Overwatch, we have 4 tangos at the northeast corner. They're going to compromise our position in 30 seconds. Sarah quickly identified the 4 guards through her scope. They were alert and armed, moving in a pattern that would bring them directly into contact with the infiltrating SEALs. She had seconds to neutralize all 4 targets without alerting the rest of the compound's security. The first shot dropped the lead guard instantly. Sarah's training kicked in as she rapidly engaged the remaining 3 targets, placing each shot with the precision her medical background had taught her. In less than 10 seconds, all 4 threats were eliminated without a single alert being raised. "Good shooting, Overwatch," Morrison whispered through the radio. "We're proceeding to the objective." The SEALs continued their infiltration while Sarah maintained her vigilant watch. Her scope revealed movement in several windows of the main building, indicating that the compound's defenders were more alert than expected. Sarah began identifying potential threats and planning engagement sequences in case the situation deteriorated. When the SEALs finally located their primary target, the situation became complicated. Hassan was in a room with 3 other men, and intelligence couldn't determine which individuals were combatants versus non-combatants. The room had only one small window, making a precision shot extremely challenging. "Overwatch, we need you to make an identification shot." Morrison's voice was tense. "Target is in the northwest room, 2nd floor. Can you get eyes on and tell us which one is Hassan? Sarah adjusted her scope and studied the figures in the dimly lit room. Using her medical knowledge of human anatomy and the intelligence photos she had memorized, she was able to positively identify Hassan based on a distinctive scar visible on his left hand. Positive ID on primary target, Sarah reported. He's the one near the window wearing the dark shirt. I have a clear shot if needed. The SEALs attempted to capture Hassan alive, but the situation quickly deteriorated when his bodyguards opened fire. Morrison's team found themselves pinned down by automatic weapons fire, unable to advance or retreat safely. Overwatch. We need immediate support, Morrison called urgently. Multiple hostiles, second floor, northwest corner. Sarah could see muzzle flashes from several windows as the terrorists fired on the trapped SEALs. She began engaging targets methodically, using her knowledge of human anatomy to place shots that would immediately incapacitate threats without causing unnecessary casualties. Her first shot silenced an automatic weapon that had been preventing the SEALs from advancing. The second shot eliminated a terrorist who was preparing to throw a grenade into the courtyard where Morrison's team was taking cover. But the most critical moment came when Sarah spotted Hassan attempting to escape through a rear window. Intelligence had indicated that his capture or elimination was essential to preventing future terrorist attacks that could kill hundreds of Americans. The shot was incredibly challenging. Hassan was moving quickly, partially concealed by window frames, and the distance required Sarah to account for multiple environmental factors. She had one chance to stop him before he disappeared into the maze of alleyways surrounding the compound. Sarah's medical training helped her understand exactly where to place the shot for immediate incapacitation. She led the moving target perfectly, accounting for his speed and direction. When she squeezed the trigger, Hassan dropped instantly, the terrorists' plans for future attacks ending with surgical precision. Target down, Sarah reported calmly. Primary objective complete. The mission was a complete success. The SEALs extracted safely with valuable intelligence materials, and Sarah's precision shooting had prevented any friendly casualties. Morrison's initial skepticism had been replaced by genuine respect for the Army sniper, who had proved herself under the most challenging conditions. During the flight home, Morrison approached Sarah with something unusual, an invitation to train with his SEAL team on future operations. Martinez, I've worked with a lot of snipers over the years, he said. What you did back there was special. Your medical background gives you an edge that most shooters don't have. Sarah had proven herself to the most elite warriors in the American military. Her transition from combat medic to elite sniper was complete, but her reputation was just beginning to spread through the special operations community. Word of Sarah's performance in Syria spread quickly through special operations channels. Within weeks, she was receiving mission requests from multiple elite units across different branches of the military. Her unique combination of medical expertise and sniper skills had created a reputation that reached the highest levels of military command. The next major test came 6 months later when Sarah was assigned to support a Delta Force operation in Somalia. The mission involved rescuing 2 captured CIA operatives who were being held by a warlord in a heavily fortified compound outside Mogadishu. Captain Marcus Blade Thompson, the Delta Force team leader, had specifically requested Sarah after hearing about her work with the SEALs. Unlike Morrison's initial skepticism, Thompson welcomed her with professional respect. Martinez, I've been following your career since Syria, Thompson said during the mission briefing. What I need from you is something different this time. These hostages have been tortured for weeks. They're going to need immediate medical attention the moment we reach them. The mission plan called for Sarah to serve dual roles, providing sniper overwatch during the assault and then switching to her medical role to stabilize the rescued operatives. It was exactly the kind of complex assignment that her unique skill set was designed for. The hostages were being held in a compound, that intelligence described as a fortress. High walls, guard towers, and roving patrols made conventional assault extremely dangerous. The warlord, Ahmed Kuso, was known for killing hostages at the first sign of rescue attempts. Sarah studied the intelligence reports with both her sniper and medical training in mind. She identified critical guard positions that would need to be eliminated simultaneously to prevent alarm systems from alerting the entire compound. More importantly, she reviewed medical files on the hostages to prepare for their likely condition after weeks of captivity and torture. The mission began at dawn with Sarah positioned on a ridge overlooking the compound. Her elevated position gave her sight lines to every guard post and most of the interior courtyard. The Delta operators would approach from 3 directions, but success depended on Sarah eliminating several key sentries simultaneously. Through her scope, Sarah counted 12 guards visible at various positions around the compound. Intelligence suggested there were at least 20 more inside the buildings. The window for the initial assault was narrow. She would have less than 30 seconds to eliminate the perimeter guards before the alarm was raised. Sarah had developed a firing sequence that would maximize confusion among the remaining guards. Starting with the most isolated sentries and working toward the main gate, she could eliminate threats while making it difficult for survivors to determine where the shots were coming from. The assault began with Sarah's first shot dropping a guard in the far tower. Her second and third shots came in rapid succession, eliminating 2 guards near the main entrance before they could raise the alarm. By the time the remaining guards realized they were under attack, the Delta operators were already inside the perimeter. But the situation became complicated when Sarah spotted movement in a second-floor window where intelligence indicated the hostages were being held. Through her scope, she could see armed men positioning themselves near what appeared to be the prisoners. "Blade, I have movement in the target building," Sarah reported. "Looks like they're threatening the hostages." Thompson's voice was tight with concern. "Can you get a clear shot without endangering the prisoners?" Sarah studied the scene through her powerful scope. Her medical training helped her assess the hostages' condition from a distance. Both men appeared severely weakened and injured, barely able to sit upright. The guards holding them were using the prisoners as human shields, making any shot extremely risky. "Negative on clean shots," Sarah reported. "Hostiles are using prisoners for cover. I need you to create a distraction." The Delta team coordinated a diversionary assault on the compound's main building, while Sarah repositioned for a better angle. Moving quickly but silently, she relocated to a position that would give her a clearer view of the hostage situation. From her new position, Sarah could see that one of the hostages was in immediate medical distress. His breathing was labored and his color was poor, indicating possible internal injuries that required immediate treatment. Time was running out for both the mission and the dying prisoner. When Thompson's team breached the building's ground floor, the guards holding the hostages became distracted by the gunfire below. Sarah saw her opportunity and took 2 rapid shots through the window, eliminating both guards without harming the prisoners. "Hostage room secure," Sarah reported. "But I'm seeing serious medical issues. One prisoner needs immediate treatment." Sarah quickly broke down her sniper position and moved toward the compound, transitioning from her role as Overwatch to combat medic. By the time she reached the hostage room, the Delta operators had secured the building and were preparing to evacuate the rescued CIA operatives. The medical situation was worse than Sarah had expected. The first hostage had multiple broken ribs, internal bleeding, and signs of severe dehydration. The second prisoner was conscious but showed symptoms of infection from untreated wounds that had become septic. Working under combat conditions while gunfire continued in other parts of the compound, Sarah used her medical training to stabilize both patients. She started IV fluids, administered pain medication, and treated the most serious wounds with supplies from her medical kit. "Martinez, we need to move now," Thompson called from the doorway. "More hostiles are approaching from the north." Sarah made rapid medical decisions that probably saved both hostages' lives. She prioritized treatments that would keep them stable during the evacuation, knowing that more comprehensive care would have to wait until they reached the extraction point. The evacuation was harrowing. Sarah had to balance her rifle and medical equipment while helping carry one of the stretchers through hostile territory. Enemy fighters were closing in from multiple directions, forcing the team to fight their way to the helicopter landing zone. During the running battle, Sarah alternated between providing medical care to the hostages and engaging enemy fighters who threatened the evacuation. Her unique skill set allowed her to keep the prisoners alive while contributing to the team's defensive fire. One moment that impressed even the experienced Delta operators occurred when Sarah spotted an enemy sniper preparing to engage their helicopter. While simultaneously monitoring one hostage's vital signs, she made a 600-meter shot that eliminated the threat just as their extraction aircraft was landing. Both hostages survived the mission and made full recoveries after extended medical treatment. Intelligence gathered from the rescued CIA operatives led to the capture of several high-value terrorist targets in subsequent operations. Captain Thompson's mission report specifically highlighted Sarah's performance. Specialist Martinez demonstrated exceptional skill in both sniper and medical roles. Her ability to transition between combat shooting and life-saving medical treatment under fire is unlike anything I've witnessed in 15 years of special operations. The Somalia mission established Sarah as one of the most versatile and valuable assets in the special operations community. Her reputation was growing beyond individual units to reach senior commanders who were beginning to recognize the strategic value of her unique skill combination. Sarah's personnel file was now flagged for the most sensitive and challenging missions. She had proven that her transition from combat medic to elite sniper wasn't just about learning new skills. It was about creating an entirely new kind of special operations capability. The success in Somalia opened doors to even more classified and dangerous assignments. Sarah was about to face her greatest challenge yet, a mission that would test every skill she had developed and push her abilities to their absolute limits. The operation would involve the most elite warriors in the American military, and failure would have consequences far beyond any single mission. The call came at 3 a.m. Sarah was awakened by her secure phone, indicating an emergency deployment of the highest priority. Within 2 hours, she was on a military transport heading to an undisclosed location where she would join the most elite joint task force ever assembled. The briefing room contained representatives from every Tier 1 special operations unit in the American military. Navy SEALs, Delta Force, Army Rangers, Air Force Special Operations, and Marine Special Operations Command were all represented. Sarah was the only individual operator selected based purely on her unique skill set. General Patricia Hayes, the task force commander, outlined a mission that would challenge everything Sarah had learned. A terrorist organization had captured a busload of American children from an international school in Pakistan. The terrorists were demanding the release of high-value prisoners and threatening to execute the children if their demands weren't met. "This isn't just a hostage rescue," General Hayes explained. "Intelligence indicates the terrorists plan to use the children as suicide bombers in attacks against American targets, regardless of whether we meet their demands. We have one chance to save these kids." The terrorist leader, Yassin al-Rashid, was a former military sniper who had killed dozens of coalition soldiers before turning to terrorism. He had chosen the hostage location specifically because it seemed impossible to assault, an abandoned school building surrounded by open ground that provided no cover for approaching forces. Sarah studied the intelligence materials and immediately understood why she had been chosen for the mission. The terrorist compound had multiple levels with children held in different rooms. Any conventional assault would result in massive casualties among the hostages because al-Rashid and his followers were prepared to kill the children rather than surrender. The only solution was a coordinated operation that would eliminate all terrorist guards simultaneously, preventing anyone from harming the children during the assault. Sarah's precision shooting skills and medical knowledge made her essential for an operation that required surgical accuracy under impossible pressure. The mission plan called for Sarah to infiltrate alone to a position within 400 meters of the target building. From there, she would need to identify and eliminate specific terrorists at predetermined times, while special operations teams assaulted from multiple directions. The complexity was staggering. Sarah would need to maintain observation on 12 different rooms, identify which terrorists posed the greatest threat to children, and coordinate her shots with assault teams moving at high speed through a chaotic combat environment. Sarah spent 3 days memorizing every detail of the target building. She studied architectural drawings, satellite imagery, and intelligence reports about each terrorist's location and behavior patterns. Her medical training helped her understand exactly how to place shots that would immediately incapacitate threats, without giving them time to harm nearby children. The night before the mission, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. Lieutenant Commander Morrison, the SEAL team leader from her Syria mission, had been chosen to lead one of the assault teams. He sought her out to discuss the coordination required between her sniper position and his team's movements. "Martinez, this is the most complex operation I've ever been part of," Morrison admitted. "We're going to be completely dependent on your ability to eliminate threats at exactly the right moments. If your timing is off by even a few seconds, those kids are going to die." Sarah understood the weight of responsibility she was carrying. 43 American children, ages 6 through 16, were depending on her ability to make perfect shots under conditions that would challenge the world's best snipers. The insertion took place before dawn, with Sarah moving alone through hostile territory to reach her designated position. She carried specialized equipment including a suppressed rifle, night vision optics, and communication gear that would allow her to coordinate with multiple assault teams simultaneously. Sarah's position was in the ruins of a bombed mosque about 350 meters from the target building. The location provided excellent sight lines but left her completely exposed if the terrorists discovered her presence. She would have to remain motionless for hours while maintaining constant vigilance over the compound. Through her scope, Sarah could see children in several windows of the building. They appeared frightened but unharmed, though her medical training allowed her to assess that many were showing signs of dehydration and stress. Time was working against the rescue operation in multiple ways. As dawn approached, Sarah began identifying terrorist positions throughout the building. Her intelligence briefings had been accurate. Al-Rashid had positioned his followers strategically to maximize their ability to kill hostages if the compound was attacked. The assault began at 0600 hours with Sarah's first shot eliminating a rooftop sentry who would have been able to alert the entire compound. Her suppressed rifle made virtually no sound, allowing the special operations teams to continue their approach undetected. Over the next 10 minutes, Sarah eliminated 6 more terrorists in a carefully orchestrated sequence that prevented any alarm from being raised. Each shot required her to account for distance, wind conditions, and the movement patterns of both terrorists and children in the target areas. The most challenging moment came when Sarah spotted Al-Rashid himself, positioning explosives near a group of younger children. The terrorist leader was using the kids as human shields while preparing what appeared to be a devastating explosive device. "Command, I have eyes on primary target with explosives," Sarah reported. "He's threatening approximately 8 children, ages 6 to 10. The response was immediate and clear. "Take the shot." Al-Rashid was partially concealed behind the children, presenting only a small target area that would require absolute precision. Sarah's medical knowledge told her exactly where to place the bullet, to cause instant incapacitation while minimizing any risk to the nearby children. The shot was one of the most difficult Sarah had ever attempted. The target was small, partially concealed and surrounded by innocent lives. Her breathing steadied as she entered the focused state that had become her trademark, blocking out everything except the crosshairs and her target. When Sarah squeezed the trigger, Al-Rashid dropped, instantly without triggering the explosive device. The children were safe, and the most dangerous threat to the hostages had been eliminated with surgical precision. The assault teams moved through the building systematically, coordinating with Sarah to neutralize remaining terrorists while protecting the children. Sarah continued providing overwatch, eliminating threats as they appeared and guiding the assault teams through the complex layout. When Morrison's SEAL team reached the main classroom where most of the children were held, they discovered that several kids had been injured during their captivity. Sarah immediately transitioned from her sniper role back to her medical training, moving quickly from her concealed position to the target building. Inside the classroom, Sarah found children suffering from dehydration, minor injuries, and severe psychological trauma. Her medical background allowed her to quickly assess which children needed immediate treatment and which could wait for evacuation to proper medical facilities. Working alongside the special operations medics, Sarah helped stabilized the most seriously injured children while coordinating their evacuation. Her calm demeanor and medical expertise helped reassure the frightened kids that they were finally safe. The most critical case was an 8-year-old girl who had developed severe dehydration and was showing signs of shock. Sarah started an IV line and administered fluids while coordinating with the evacuation helicopter to ensure proper medical equipment would be available during transport. "You're going to be okay, sweetheart," Sarah told the frightened child while monitoring her vital signs. "We're going to get you home to your family." The entire rescue operation was completed in under 20 minutes with 0 casualties among the hostages. All 43 children were successfully evacuated, and most made full recoveries after medical treatment and psychological counseling. Sarah's performance during the mission was extraordinary, even by special operations standards. She had eliminated 9 high-value targets with perfect accuracy while coordinating with multiple assault teams, then seamlessly transitioned to providing life-saving medical care to the rescued children. General Hayes personally debriefed Sarah after the mission. "What you accomplished today represents a new standard for special operations capability," the general said. "Your ability to serve as both precision shooter and combat medic has saved lives that would have been lost with conventional tactics." The successful rescue of the American children became a classified success story that enhanced Sarah's reputation throughout the special operations community. She had proven that her unique skill combination wasn't just useful for individual missions. It was revolutionizing how elite units approached complex hostage situations. Morrison and Thompson, the SEAL and Delta Force leaders who had worked with Sarah on previous missions, both submitted recommendations for her advancement to the most classified special operations programs. Her personnel file was now among the most highly classified in the military. 6 months after the Pakistan rescue mission, Sarah received the most significant assignment of her career. She was being attached to a joint CIA-Navy SEAL operation targeting the world's most wanted terrorist leader, a man responsible for orchestrating attacks that had killed thousands of Americans worldwide. The mission briefing took place at a secure facility where Sarah met Admiral Richard Stone, the operation's overall commander. Also present was Agent Rebecca Chen from the CIA's Special Activities Division and Commander James Reaper Mitchell, who led the most elite SEAL team in the Navy. "Martinez, this operation represents the culmination of 3 years of intelligence gathering," Admiral Stone explained. "We have one chance to eliminate Hassan al-Zawahiri before he disappears again. Intelligence indicates he's planning a massive attack on American soil that could make 9/11 look small. Al-Zawahiri was hiding in a fortified compound in the mountains of Afghanistan, protected by hundreds of loyal fighters and sophisticated defensive systems. Previous attempts to capture or kill him had failed because of his security arrangements and intimate knowledge of the terrain. The mission plan was unlike anything Sarah had encountered. She would be inserted alone into the mountains 5 days before the main assault, tasked with conducting reconnaissance and eliminating key defensive positions that could threaten the SEAL teams during their approach. "What makes this different is the timeline," Agent Chen explained. "You'll be operating alone in hostile territory for nearly a week, gathering intelligence and preparing the battlefield. If you're discovered or compromised, we can't extract you without blowing the entire operation." Sarah's medical background had influenced her selection for another reason. Intelligence suggested that al-Zawahiri was suffering from a serious illness that required regular medical treatment. Sarah's knowledge of field medicine might help identify the terrorist leader if visual identification proved difficult. The insertion took place during a moonless night, with Sarah parachuting into the Afghan mountains 30 kilometers from the target compound. She carried specialized equipment including a high-powered rifle, advanced surveillance gear, and enough supplies to survive independently for a week. Sarah's first 3 days were spent moving carefully through the mountain terrain. While conducting detailed reconnaissance of the target area, she established multiple observation positions that would allow her to monitor the compound's defensive arrangements and identify patterns in the guards' behavior. Through her powerful scope, Sarah was able to confirm al-Zawahiri's presence in the compound and assess his physical condition. Her medical training allowed her to observe that the terrorist leader was indeed suffering from what appeared to be kidney disease, information that would prove crucial during the final assault. Ani. The fourth day, Sarah discovered a major complication. Al-Zawahiri was planning to leave the compound within 24 hours, moving to a new location that intelligence hadn't identified. The SEAL assault would have to be moved up by 2 days, leaving less time for preparation. Sarah's position in the mountains became critical when she spotted a convoy of vehicles approaching the compound from an unexpected direction. Using her surveillance equipment, she identified the newcomers as reinforcements that would more than double the defensive strength of Al-Zawahiri's security force. "Command, this is Overwatch," Sarah reported through her encrypted communication system. "Target compound is being reinforced with approximately 50 additional fighters. Assault timeline needs immediate adjustment." Admiral Stone's response was swift and decisive. The SEAL assault would begin that night, with Sarah providing critical support from her mountain position. The operation would be much more dangerous than originally planned, but waiting would allow Al-Zawahiri to escape. As night fell, Sarah prepared for the most challenging shooting of her career. She would need to eliminate multiple key targets simultaneously, while providing overwatch for SEAL teams approaching through difficult mountain terrain in complete darkness. The assault began at 200 hours with Sarah's first shots eliminating 2 sentries positioned to detect approaching forces. Her suppressed rifle allowed the SEAL teams to continue their infiltration without raising an alarm in the main compound. Over the next hour, Sarah systematically eliminated guards and defensive positions that could threaten the advancing SEALs. Each shot required precise calculation of distance, elevation changes, and wind conditions that varied dramatically in the mountain environment. The most critical moment came when the SEAL teams reached the compound's outer perimeter. Al-Zawahiri's security forces had detected the intrusion and were moving to defensive positions that would make the assault extremely costly in American lives. "Overwatch, we need immediate fire support on the northeast tower." Commander Mitchell's voice was urgent. "Multiple hostiles with heavy weapons are preparing to engage." Sarah could see the defensive position through her scope. 4 terrorists were setting up a machine gun that would devastate the SEAL teams caught in the open courtyard below. The shot was extremely challenging due to the distance and elevation changes, but Sarah had trained for exactly this type of scenario. Her shot eliminated the machine gunner just as he was preparing to fire on the SEALs. Rapid follow-up shots neutralized the remaining defenders before they could bring their weapons to bear on the assault teams. The SEALs fought their way through the compound systematically, with Sarah providing continuous overwatch and eliminating threats as they appeared. Her medical knowledge helped her prioritize targets based on their ability to effectively resist despite wounds from the ongoing firefight. When the SEALs finally located Al-Zawahiri, the terrorist leader was attempting to escape through a tunnel system that intelligence had missed. Sarah spotted him emerging from a concealed exit on the compound's far side, moving toward a waiting vehicle that would allow him to disappear into the mountains. The shot that would end Al-Zawahiri's reign of terror was one of the longest and most difficult Sarah had ever attempted. The target was moving rapidly across uneven terrain at a distance of nearly 900 meters, with mountain winds affecting bullet trajectory. Sarah's breathing steadied as she calculated the complex ballistics required for the shot. Her medical training told her exactly where to aim to ensure immediate incapacitation of the target. She led the moving figure perfectly, accounting for his speed and the effects of gravity and wind on her bullet's path. When Sarah squeezed the trigger, Al-Zawahiri dropped instantly. The world's most wanted terrorist was dead, his plans for mass destruction ending with a single perfectly placed shot from a former combat medic who had become America's deadliest sniper. "Target down," Sarah reported calmly. "Primary objective complete." The successful elimination of Al-Zawahiri was classified at the highest levels, with Sarah's role in the operation known only to a select few individuals in the government and military. The mission prevented what intelligence later confirmed would have been devastating attacks on American cities. Admiral Stone's final assessment of Sarah's performance became part of her classified personnel file. Specialist Martinez has demonstrated capabilities that redefine the possibilities of individual operators in special operations. Her transition from combat medic to elite sniper represents a new model for military excellence. Sarah's journey from the small town in Texas to the mountains of Afghanistan was complete. The young woman who had once learned to shoot with her grandfather had become a legend among the most elite warriors in the world. Her story would never be told publicly, but among those who knew, Sarah Martinez was recognized as one of the greatest snipers in military history. The Navy SEALs who had worked with Sarah throughout her career would never forget the quiet professional who had repeatedly saved their lives with impossible shots. Her legacy lived on in the operations she had made possible, and the American lives she had saved through her unique combination of medical knowledge and precision shooting skills. Sarah had proven that the best warriors aren't always those with the most traditional backgrounds. Sometimes the most devastating effectiveness comes from unexpected combinations of skills, dedication to excellence, and the courage to serve when others cannot or will not.